evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to the season finale for season 51 of the RTG Winston Cup Series, as we are here at the D-shaped mile-and-a-half Atlanta Motor Speedway. A champion has already been crowned in the overall series, but we're going to be crowning a second champion here tonight as we are in the chase portion of this season. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Jessica Shelton, and just, a couple of weeks ago, we ended up covering a race where Dante Ricky locked up the overall championship, but he's got, as we said, another title to battle for here tonight, and he's got some pretty fierce competitors.
Yeah, last time we covered this, Dante had a really decent commanding lead. He had a little bit of room to wiggle with. Tonight, no such luck for the driver of the number 84. He's got Bernie Mobbs and Dave Melson tied with him all in a row, ready to go. Whoever's finishing higher, leading the point, leading the lap, that's going to be the winner. So Dante's got a little bit more pressure tonight than what he's used to.
And he's going to have that pressure start from the drop of the green flag, because Bernie Mobbs and Dave Melson, they're going to be the front row. Dante Ricky's going to have to start all the way back from the 12th position. And this is the 2005 version of Atlanta. We know that it's the unpaved version as well, so maybe not as much grip for these drivers to lean on, which means it's going to be killing those tires.
Yeah, I mean, you alluded to it a little earlier too, Seth, about coming into pit road. You said you saw someone spin out that I didn't catch out, so pit road's going to be treacherous too if we get a long green flag run. And remember, 4 tire stops, realistic damage as well.
Well, Bernie Mobbs is one of those 3 drivers that is going to be battling for the championship here for the chase portion of the season, and we're going to talk with him right now. Bernie, it's Seth and Jess up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Sure do. Nice to hear from you guys again.
Well, man, I mean, a great lap here in qualifying. You're starting on point leading this race. So is the goal to stay up front all day long? And do you have a car, if you get back in traffic, to fight your way back up to the front here?
My number one concern this one is trying to stay in one piece. I'll go how it goes. If I'm fast enough, I'll stay there. If not, I'll just be careful. It's going to be a nail biter.
Well, we saw a lot of drivers moving every single lane that they could find out here on this track, Bernie. Like, where are you comfortable with? Middle, high, bottom? Where are we looking at?
Right now, middle to low feels pretty good. Just staying stable. You don't want to burn the tires up is one of those deals, but I practice around on the top. It seems to work okay too. I like the middle area better.
Well, Bernie, we won't keep you. We know that you got a lot to be able to kind of settle out in your mind here to lead this field to green, but hopefully we'll be able to see you, if not win this race, at least be able to finish ahead of your 2 competitors here and maybe be able to win this championship in the Winston Cup Series chase.
Thanks. I'll give it my best and put on a good show for you guys.
Bernie, don't feel bad. At least you got a pole tonight, so you ain't got to worry about Joe or Bob on Thursday, right?
There you go. One step ahead.
All right. Good luck, Bernie.
Thanks a lot.
And Bernie Mobbs, this is his actually first pole of the overall season, and we'll see if he can actually pick up his first win of the overall season here tonight. But I'm kind of getting the feeling, just based on, the field we're seeing here tonight, it may be one of those cases in the season finale where you don't necessarily have to win to lock up the Chase Championship.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot of good drivers in this field, Seth. We've got, we've been talking about Jeremy Jeffries leading, winning races, Robert Balcom, Grant Wesley's in this field, and Grant had been doing a really, really long practice run from earlier on from what I saw. Chuck McClure, you know how he has been lately in the back, pushing forward to come to the front, being pretty good up there, trying his best to get that win. I mean, Dante's starting 12th, Seth. So Dante's just got to do what he's done all season, which is be consistent. But he can't let that front row, first Bernie Mobbs, second Dave Nelson, get too far ahead of him in this race. Otherwise, it's game over. And remember, leading the lap, they can lead one right back. That's that extra bonus point that'll put them ahead.
And I found it interesting. We were just talking to Bernie. I mean, this guy's going to have the clean air going into turn 1. He's going to be leading to green. He's not really going to have to deal with battling anybody, at least early on, unless somebody gets up there to challenge him for the race lead. And the one thing he said is his main concern, keeping the car in one piece, because obviously you got to keep the car in one piece to win the championship here for the chase section of the season. So if you're someone like Bernie Mobbs or Dave Melson up here on the front row, how hard do you push it early on with that concern in the back of your mind?
Yeah, that's what I was about to allude to with you, Seth. I mean, I wouldn't know how hard you have to push it because you want to get out to the front. I mean, if I was Dave, the first thing I would want to do is at least get one lap led. Get
Right.
that one lap because you know Bernie's probably going to get out there and lead that first lap as well. So you get that lap led, Bernie gets lap led, you cancel out the extra bonus point, and you're even and you're tied in your head of Dante Ricky. And you know that's what they want to do. They want to finish ahead of Dante, but we've seen Dave Melson recently. He has been battling, pushing himself to get up there to lead these races. He's been close at the end. Some unfortunate luck here and there. Sometimes he gets a top 5 run. So we know Dave is willing to go up there and battle for the win. Dante, however, he's more of a consistent, let's play it as it goes type. So Dante can't be playing around with the consistency. He's got to be a little bit more aggressive toward the end of this, and I don't know if that's going to favor him or not.
Yeah, his hand may be forced here with the fact his two competitors up at the front may be dominating this race for this 114 laps. We mentioned the front row, Bernie Mobbs and Dave Melson. They're running for a chase championship. Row 2 is going to be Chris Elliott and Bob Dixon. Andre Mahjong and Jeremy Jeffries, who's been on a tear. We'll touch on that in just a moment. They're row 3. Robert Bauckham and Randy Waugh in row 4. And the top 10 completed by Jim Glaude and Grant Wesley. Richard Martin and Dante Ricky, the overall series champ, in row 6. Ronald Doucet and Chuck McClure in row 7. Row 8 will find Stefan Martel and Robbie Nisus. Row 9 is Andre Rieume and Mitch Bombard, and completing the top 20 will be Benoit Plort and Frank Rivard. Those were the drivers that took time. 21st will be Terry Baumann, 22nd John Godfrey, 23rd Cy Jones, and 24th rounding out the field will be Rodney Sullins.
We got 114 laps for the night's race. Fuel and tires are about 32 laps roughly, Seth. We're about to go see who's going to win this chase for the championship right here, right now.
Bernie Mobbs and Dave Melson, 2 of the 3 championship competitors, get us underway, and Bernie Mobbs did not get going.
Melson pulls ahead with a huge lead, and now Bernie's in trouble. He's got to find a way to come back and get that lap led to cancel out Dave before this race is over. He's got to do something, Seth.
Mentioned the fact this is the 2005 version of Atlanta, so it's the unpaved slick version, and I think that 90 car, I almost wonder if maybe he tried to start this race in first gear, might have had to deal with a little wheel spin at the initial start of this race, but charging back to the front, as you said, he's going to take a look here to the inside of Melson. I don't think he'll lead this lap, but he might lead the next one.
Yeah, he comes right back side by side with Dave Melson. He really needs to get out front, which is what he's doing right now. He fell back. He came back really hard with a vengeance. We're going to see a lot more aggressive driving than what we have seen all season, and you can be sure of that. I mean, they're all the way back here side by side. I mean, Seth, I don't know if you can script anything better than this right now because the aggressive intensity is picking up. Everything is going. They're single file a little bit back outside of the top 10, but side by side all the way up near the front.
Jeremy Jeffries in the 8, looking to the inside of Chris Elliott, now to the inside of Dave Melson. Is Elliott going to forge ahead for second place? Mentioned I was going to touch on Jeremy Jeffries. He comes into tonight's race having won the last 4 Winston Cup Series races. So this guy, he's on a tear on Tuesday nights.
Absolutely, and he win last night too, I believe.
Yes,
so I mean, he's been on a tear recently, not just in this series, but in other series as well. But we also need to touch on a couple of other little point battles going on, Seth. There is a chance that Benoit Plort could pass Bob Dixon for 4th position because that is a 1-point differential for that spot in the chase right now. And a little bit further back, there is a battle between Mitch Bombard and Jim Glaude going on for that position for 8th in the chase standings right now as well.
And all 4 of those drivers are in the field here tonight, so we'll keep tabs on that as Chris Elliott, for the first time tonight, is going to put that number 9 Dodge out in front ahead of Bernie Mobbs and Dave Melson. And something we're going to see as a running trend here tonight as well, I'm pretty sure, since this is the Winston Cup 98 mod, but with CTS physics, with these long straightaways here, the D-shaped front straightaway and the straight back stretch, we're going to see drivers getting a lot of draft and getting big runs, especially, I think, going into 3.
Dave Nelson's got the huge run on Bernie coming up behind him right now. There's a gap between 3rd and 4th back here, so I don't know if that's a really good idea, especially this early on. It looks like they're really pushing it early.
Nelson's going to have the advantage on that inside line. Easily clears Bernie Mobbs. He'll tuck in line in the third spot. Jeremy Jeffries going to get around Andre Mahjong. That's for fourth. And Dante Ricky right now, 84, running in the 8th position. I think he might have just lost that spot. No, he still is in 8th. But, you know, you brought up a great point, and I think it is exactly right. The fact that we see Dante Ricky let the race come to him, but the fact that he has his 2 championship competitors up there at the front, I think his hand is forced. He might have to go outside his comfort zone and be aggressive early on here to get up at least in the same vicinity as those 2.
Now Dante kind of getting boxed in right now on the outside of Chuck McClure, Bob Dixon, and behind Andre Mahjong. He's going to fall back just a tad bit, I'd assume, here, as we see Chris Elliott lose the lead. Dave Nelson goes back to the front, Bernie Mobbs in the second, and now Jeremy Jeffries is looking for third and possibly more.
And right now, there's really only 3 drivers that are out there trying to preserve their race cars, if you will, and those are the 3 championship competitors for the chase section of the season. Everybody else, they just want to finish out the season with a win, so I think they're in the mentality of take the checkered flag or wreck trying.
Absolutely. I mean, they don't get really much to lose. I mean, there is a couple, like we mentioned and alluded to, spots up for grabs, battling here and there, but, you know, we were talking about how Dante's been consistent, right? Maybe this is also him being a little bit consistent, a little bit aggressive, but a little bit consistent for the moment, because we see Dave and Bernie pushing themselves. Maybe Dante's expect them to wear the living heck out of their machines, and Dante will take the advantage near the end of this race. Maybe that's what Dante's strategy is, Seth. Who knows?
Might be playing the long con. You might be right. There's no doubt about it. Despite what the speeds are that they're carrying into the corner, the longer the run goes on, the slower the speeds are going to get, based on the fact that this version of Atlanta is a tire killer. And so, to your point, if Dante Ricky can preserve that right front just the least little bit here, he might have a better car for the long run to make forward progress when the 13 and the 90 are struggling for grip.
I do want to give a quick shout out to driver Seth. Look at the 21 of Randy Waugh. He's up here battling around the top 10. We don't really get a chance to see and talk about him much. I mean, it's good to see him up here in the top 10 in the 21 machine.
Yep, just made his way around Andre Mahjong to crack the top 10. Up ahead of him, Jim Glaude, who had a great performance last night in the Barebones race. He, I think, finished top 10 in that race and actually led a couple of laps in that one also. He's trying to take a spot away from Chris Elliott, as right now at the front, things are looking rather single file. This is your closest side-by-side battle, and it's going on for the 8th position.
Jim Glaude really is making that bottom try to come to him, but it looks like that high side's getting a little bit of advantage off of the exit of the corners. Like you get a better run off, it seems like, Seth. And there's another battle starting to brew up here for third.
Jeremy Jeffries now kicked to the outside line. Robert Balcom going to make the move into the podium for the first time tonight, bringing Chuck McClure and Dante Ricky along with him. And, you know, we talked about the fact that Dante started this race back in the 12th position. In a matter of 17 laps, he's now up in the top 5.
Actually, it's 12 laps, Seth.
Oh, yes, so it is.
Second fail, second night. Good job. But anyway,
the common public service announcement, don't get old.
Whoa, a huge run by the 21 of Randy Waugh, almost in the back of the 72 of Jim Glaude. I was about to comment on how Chris Elliott and Jim Glaude are side by side this whole time. We've seen a couple of drivers go up to the high side and fall back, like you said, Jeremy Jeffries did. But Chris Elliott, he's found something, because he's running pretty consistent on the outside of Jim Glaude for the past several laps.
And what's interesting is he's making it work by himself. I would have thought that based on it being CTS physics, if you were going to make that outside line work, you probably have to have someone behind you to help with draft.
Whoa, Randy Waugh keeps getting a huge run. I don't know if you saw it on that one, Seth.
We
but
did,
Randy
yes.
Waugh got a huge run going in that corner.
Had to check up a lot as well, and that was Grant Wesley that also had to give him room to be able to lift. He then also got a little tight off of 2 and almost got into Chris Elliott. So Randy Waugh apparently is able to drive it deeper into the corner than a couple of the guys in front of him. I'm noticing that, you know, with these type of racetracks that are really tough on the tire, we're starting to see the comers and goers of who really preserve their race cars. Looks like Jeremy Jeffries is starting to fall back a little bit. I saw Andre Mahjong's falling back.
And you notice Bernie Mobbs was on the high side. He fell back, and Dante just went around him. Dave Nelson's on the high side. Dante's working on trying to battle for third place in a few laps here. and he's going to try to go up to the front to get a lap lead as well because he's already there.
I just noticed something right there with the 18 of Robert Balcom. He took the race lead, but he ran really low there on the front straightaway. And there's a slight bit of elevation change there, which is really strange. It's almost like the front stretch has an apron before you get to the grass in the infield. So that might be something these drivers are going to have to be aware of during the course of this race, because that 18 car looked just a tad bit unsettled when he hit that transition.
Yeah, Seth, just out of curiosity, I ran a few Atlanta races, with the different whoa, Jim Cloud almost got out of shape there. Whoa, contact between Jim Cloud and the 143 of Bob Dixon. Caution's out.
Dixon up hard into the wall in turns 1 and 2. Looks like everybody's going to be able to scatter to the inside and avoid. The 143 took a pretty good shot with the rear end of his Dodge.
It looked like the 72 of Jim Cloud coming into the quad around the D-shape area, Seth, looked like he got a little bit too low. And like you were talking about the elevation change, it looked like he just tried to recorrect himself going that corner, and then going in turn 1, the 143 and the 72 just barely made contact, but it was on the side of Bob Dixon, which caused him to get sideways and right up into the wall, no stopping that from happening.
I want to actually go all the way back here to coming out of turn 4, because Jim Cloud may have actually taken the corner a little bit faster than he wanted to. He had Grant Wesley all over his back bumper down the entire front straightaway, almost bump drafting him. The bumpers were so close. So that might have also led to the 72 taking that corner just a little bit faster than he probably wanted to.
I'm betting most of these drivers are going to come in to pit and get tires right now. So they're coming on the lap 19, working lap 18 on the 19. So it's getting close to that 30-32 window as it is right now. They'll come on in and get some fuel and tires. But I do want to point out, like I was mentioning a moment ago, I ran a few Atlanta races, here and there. You, however, you're more sporadic. Most of the Atlantas I run are Atlanta 14 or Atlanta SRA or Atlanta FTF, like the normal ones that a lot of these drivers run. You have ran all over the place, Atlanta 97, Atlanta 06 or 07 as it was. Have you ever ran this version of Atlanta? Do you know what they're expecting on this track?
I've never actually run the 2005 version, no, but just based on what I know with most Atlantas that I've run that are around that year, it's a very loose racetrack. It's a track that is very difficult on the tires because of the fact that you go into the corner and you feel like that car is going to step out on you. So not only are you having the issue with carrying so much speed in the corner, hurting that right front, you're also with the back end wanting to kick out. You're putting a lot of pressure on that right rear. So it wears down both right side tires, which is why we're starting to see a lot of drivers longer in the run push up in the corner and not be able to hold that inside line.
Well, remember we did talk to Bernie. Bernie said he felt really comfortable in the middle. He liked the bottom, but he preferred the middle line the best. And we saw a lot of drivers starting to move up a little bit in that middle line and trying to keep that as the place that they wanted to run. Jim Cloud stayed out to lead a lap that time by. I mean, that might actually help him with this battle between him and Mitch Bombard for the 8th position in the chase up. But, I mean, if you keep pushing up, I mean, wouldn't it be a little bit easier to run next to that wall, save a little bit more tires? But how much would you give time-wise and speed-wise if you try to run next to that wall to save your tires?
See, that's the thing. You may be able to save some tires there running a little bit higher on the track, but it's obviously the longer way around the speedway. We saw Chris Elliott be able to put up a pretty good fight against Jim Cloud for a number of laps, but then as we saw the tires start to go away, there was just absolutely no speed up there in that second groove for him, and he lost 2 or 3 spots in the matter of a corner. So it's kind of, you have to choose the lesser of two evils. Do you want to save those tires for the long run, or do you want to run the risk that you're going to lose spots while doing so?
It's a risk versus a reward issue, and I mean, you also got to think about these guys trying to be really aggressive to get up near the front and try to get track position, like Dave Melson and Bernie. They were sitting there battling back and forth, and then finally we saw Dante kick it into high gear to get up there. Now, I'm not sure if Dante was just running his own race and being consistent, because it didn't seem like he was forcing a lot of people to move out of his way.
No, he wasn't. It looked like he was just kind of committed. If somebody was able to get to the inside of a car, he would follow them through and pick up a position, just slowly, methodically worked his way up to the front. The one thing I'm wondering here about Dante Ricky, he's now in the 4th position. I wonder if he might be at a slight disadvantage with his qualifying spot as far as his pit road stall, because we know that qualifying on the pole and second for Bernie Mobbs and Dave Melson, they've got the first 2 pit stalls, so they've almost got a clear shot off of pit road. Dante Ricky, on the other hand, he's got to maneuver his way around some traffic, getting into his pit stall and getting out.
That is true, but I'm not really sure that that first stall is always the best, to have, especially at these tracks like this, because there's a transition when you're in first gear. When you hit first gear to try to get up to speed, you might spin your tires coming off, especially from that transition from the actual pit road right to the track that quick.
Speaking of spinning the tires, I'm wondering how Bernie Mobbs will adjust here on this restart as opposed to what we saw at the initial drop of the green flags. It looked like on that start of the race, he actually spun the tires. So he'll be starting on the outside of Dave Melson here for this one. Robert Balcom and Dante Ricky will be row 2. Jeremy Jeffries and Grant Wesley in 5th and 6th, followed by Chuck McClure, Richard Martin, Terry Bauman, and Andre Mahjong, leading us back to green at lap 22.
We had a really nice first 18-lap run. Now the question is, with cold tires, you said it's a little bit loose, Seth. I wonder if they're going to be able to manage it, or will we see them get a little overexcited and go around early on with spinning the tires with it being cold?
Yeah, I think if we're going to find that answer out, it will be on the second lap of this restart, because getting up through the gears, I think they can take 1 and 2 flat out, being the CTS physics, the lower gear ratios. But,
whoa, Richard Martin.
Yeah, here,
whoa, there they go.
We got a car up and
over.
Yikes, and Jim Glaude just got collected with Bob Dixon. 4 cars involved.
And Martin finally comes to a stop. That was a wild ride for the 43 machine.
That started up at the front as well. That was a battle at the time for 7th place. The contact was between Chuck McClure and Richard Martin that initially got the 43 all out of shape.
I thought that they were going to save it. You saw them get a little bit loose and save it and loose and save it, and all of a sudden it just snapped.
Jim Glaude and Bob Dixon were involved in a follow-up wreck. I'm not certain. Maybe you saw the car that actually flipped the 43 up and over. I didn't quite catch it.
I'm going back right now looking at it for itself. I'm riding with Jim Glaude to see what he saw.
Drop back here and take a look at
it. Was a white machine that hit the 43 and knocked
maybe the
him
21 of Randy Waugh, possibly?
Yeah, it was a 21 that got into him. Right when they turned, it looked like Randy Waugh was like pretty much to the right and just nowhere to go for him.
Wrong place, wrong time. Here's the contact. Richard Martin kind of came down almost into the door of Chuck McClure, then corrects it back up. And there you see up and over. There's Randy Waugh, and there you see Bob Dixon, Jim Glaude, top of your screen getting together. And
it looks like the 43 got loose going in that corner like we were talking about. So
yeah,
like
I think he did.
I
think he did. I mean, there's also a thing here at Atlanta where there's a difference in grip lines. There's obviously grip on the top, as we saw with Chris Elliott, and there's grip on the bottom where a lot of drivers have been running, but there's a fine transition between those two, a difference of grips. And at the point where the 43 gets out of shape, it almost looks like his left sides and right sides were straddling those two different grip lines. And that might have, with the cold tires, been what was upsetting his machine going into that first corner.
And riding with Jim Glaude, if you watch what he had going on, there was a wreck in front of him. He started to back off, and Bob Dixon just ran a little bit too close to him and bumped him, and that was all it took. You know, when you're that close on these restarts, you don't have a lot of time to react, especially with a track like this. The speeds are so high up, and you're going through the gears trying to accelerate and get to higher speed.
Especially in the lower gear, it's harder to get that car to come to a stop. Fourth gear, usually you can get that thing to stop a little bit sooner, but those brakes aren't going to quite take when you're down in first or second gear, which probably most of those drivers, they were either in second gear or just transitioned up to third gear at that point of turns 1 and 2. The bad news for Bob Dixon and Jim Glaude, both of those cars made contact with the outside wall with the front end of their machines. And that's where a lot of the aerodynamics and a lot of the engine power is as well. However, I learned from last night that even if a car may have some engine damage, you can't write them off. Sean Prime proving that with the truck win last night in bare bones.
Yeah, I think I said that Jeremy Jeffries got the win last night. I think that's the second time I've actually called Sean Jeremy and Jeremy Sean. So I guess I'm making my own fail too tonight. I think Jeremy's gonna love that because I think Jeremy will be more than happy to take the win away from Sean for that. But anyway, now that they've got everything settled, Seth, we got Richard Martin as the only driver out, but with Jim Gloud and Bob Dixon, and I'm not sure if Randy Wall pitted or not, but these guys that had the damage, they have to come back in and they fix it, and they have to take tires because they're on the brakes, tires squealing when they spin, and etc. I mean, it's just even worse for them because now they're down one of those stops that they were hoping to save for later. Because remember, you only get 4 stops in this race for tires.
Exactly, and I can tell you that this track in particular, with how loose that they're dealing with the conditions, when you spin, you alluded to it. Those tires, they wear down a ton. We just had a driver duck onto pit road. I think that might have been the 17 of Chuck McClure.
Yeah, McClure's in, Randy Wall's in, Frank Brevard, Robbie Nices. Some of these drivers are in. I don't know whether they actually came in earlier on or not. They might be coming in to top off, and they actually might be coming in to get tires. Because remember, if you were involved in a wreck or an incident or whatever, you used up to pit second time by. And we see, oh wow, almost contact between the 21 and 143 coming on pit road. But Chuck McClure only took fuel.
Yeah, I think he might have just been topping off the fuel tank because, there was no contact between himself and Richard Martin, so I don't think that the wreck would be on him.
Frank Brevard only took fuel as well.
That's interesting because that's the one thing about these type of races, 114 laps, and a lot of times drivers and crew chiefs, they will work the race backwards in terms of determining when they need to come down and take fuel and whatnot. So, I'm almost wondering if they know something we don't right now, just based on what the fuel window is on the occasion that we might go green the rest of the way.
Well, we're about to go back to green. We're going to end lap 26 and start lap 27 here with 114. And we saw what type of restart we just had. I'm going to go a little bit loose, a little bit of a checkup. I'm wondering if they learned from that mistake already now, Seth.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see as these drivers heading out of turn 4. Melson again on the bottom, Bernie Mobbs on the top, Dante Ricky right behind them. So your 3 championship competitors in the top 3 for this restart. Up through the gears they go. Bernie Mobbs gets a little bit better of a restart. I almost wonder if that inside line doesn't have quite as much grip on the front straightaway, because that's the second time in 3 restarts that we've seen the outside line driver get the jump.
Whoa, someone on the apron. Sorry to cut you off like that. There was a driver that got on there.
He saved it, however. We still remain green as they continue to race double wide, almost looking 3 wide up here in the mid-pack.
Looks like that driver's sliding up pretty bad. Like he's pushing up, so I'm wondering if you go all out right away, if it's really going to start pushing you up pretty bad to begin with, Seth. I mean, they're all single file now pretty much throughout the top 14 or so. I mean, oh, Chuck McClure getting a run on the Hardy's machine of, I believe that's Sullen, if I'm not mistaken, and they're battling back here for what seems to be the 15th position between Jim Gloud and Sullen at the moment. I mean, Seth, is it possible? There is a I do a lot of plate tracks and race a lot of those. There is a track that we run over in fast where you're on the bottom and it's really loose in first gear, and you want to be on the high side or you want to start 4th on that. I mean, do you think that's pretty much the same thing here? That bottom, just starting in first gear, just makes it so loose and you have to catch yourself so you don't screw up, and you have to start in second gear and just lose all that position?
Well, from what I know from RTG tracks, they try and do their best to make it where both lanes are viable. And they've kind of got the concept of if they put a little bit more grip up in that second groove, it's going to allow that outside line to work. The short way around the racetrack, obviously, is the bottom. So you've got both lanes working as Dave Melson gets a little loose off of 2. So I think to that point, that outside line on the front straightaway has that little bit of added grip, allows you in first gear to have that jump because the tires will take to that grip line as opposed to the inside line where we've seen 2 drivers now kind of spin the tires.
And can you just give me an idea? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If they touch a little bit of that grass with that left front or that left rear tire, is that automatically going to send them around, or is it just going to push them back up on the track and make them run into the wall?
There's no grip down there, none whatsoever. So no doubt in my mind that that car would be spinning around. And I don't even know if they'll get down to that point, because I think that that apron that's between the racetrack and the grass area here on the front straightaway, which I've honestly never seen at Atlanta before. That's a strange anomaly for me. I think that's their biggest concern, besides the grass that's down beneath that.
Well, I mean, if they get really aggressive, we can see almost 3-4 wide if they really want to battle hard enough, especially with those championship leaders of Dante and Bernie and Dave Nelson. I mean, they're really struggling right now to try to figure out who's going to lead the most laps, and you just got nowhere to go. I mean, look at the top three, all of them championship competitors right there, and I don't think Dante has led a lap yet.
No, he is not. Dante has not led a lap in this one, so he might want to get up there and lead a lap, as his two champion competitors have. Speaking of leading a lap, we saw that Jim Gloud stayed out under one of the cautions, led a lap. He's battling, of course, with Mitch Bombard for 8th in the point standings as far as the chase is concerned. Right now, the 72 is running in 16th. Bombard's running in 20th, and we know the 72 has at least got some damage on the front when he and Bob Dixon nosed it into the wall in that follow-up wreck.
And I want to touch on something, because I'm looking at this gap between the 88 of Grant Wesley and Dante Ricky up here at the front stuff. You remember what Grant said last night? I don't care if they're running for a championship or not. I go out there and race them like I race everyone else every day, every week, same way, same how everyone else races, right? He doesn't look at the championship picture, but I'm just wondering if Grant's realizing the implications here, because he's really being careful around these guys right now.
He might be, but I think that just based on the fact that this is for a section of the season championship rather than the overall championship, with Dante Ricky locking that up, I think Grant Wesley still have the mentality of go out there and win this race. And I kind of agree with that mentality as well, because I think if you're going to win the championship, whether it be the chase section or the overall section, you've got to kind of control that yourself, regardless of what the other drivers are doing. Everybody else out there, they want to finish out the season with a checkered flag. So, I mean, for Melson, Dante, Ricky, Bernie Mobbs, they've got to make the choice. How much of a fight do they want to put up against guys like Grant Wesley, Robert Balcom, Andre Marchand? Because those guys, they're going to try and get this checkered flag. They don't have a championship on the line.
Well, Seth, I'm sorry, I was in the middle of a conversation with one of the drivers. I am very sorry. Can you please repeat what you just said to me?
Oh, just basically saying that I think that as far as like these three championship competitors, they've kind of controlled their destiny regardless of the other drivers. I mean, I think for Wesley, Balcom, Mahjong, Jeffries, those guys back there, they should be of the mentality, regardless of the championship ballots going on ahead of them, get themselves to the front, try and take this checkered flag. For Melson, Ricky, and Bernie Mobbs, they've got to be the ones to decide how much of a fight they want to put up against these other drivers, because they've got a championship on the line. The other drivers don't.
Yeah, but they also got to be careful to show enough respect and not force the issue too much. I mean, whoa, Grant got really high up there. I thought he was about to hit the wall off that corner. But it's like, you want to go up there, you know that these drivers will treat you the same way. Oh, let's go up there and race and have fun and have a good run. But at the same time, you don't want to be that guy that bumps them or cuts them off or does something that might hinder them, to cause them to have to drop back again into a wreck because you made a move on them or you cut them off.
Looking at Chuck McClure in the 17 right now in the 9th position. Remember, he came down pit road and topped off the fuel tank, so he's done a pretty nice job of working his way back up through the field. And just in front of him, we haven't really mentioned him tonight. Good run for the 62 of Ronald Lucet. Currently has his Pontiac Grand Prix in the 8th position.
Now you got a lot of these drivers back here that are, not up at the front top three battle like they're doing, but they're managing to hold themselves pretty decently, riding in this line and this train. I mean, Seth, we're already on lap 40 coming to 41. You know what that means. Pit stops are right around the corner, and they're approaching fast. So with these guys staying close to the pack, it gives you the mentality like, okay, well, I got people behind me, I got people in front of me. When I pit, I should at least come out with the pack. And honestly, even though this is not a super speedway or Auto Club or Michigan, this is still a drop reliant track.
Definitely is. I mean, we've even seen drivers running in a single file line be able to gap themselves back to a side by side battle. So that just shows how aerodynamic this mod with the CTS physics is. If you stay in a straight line, you're going to produce a lot more speed. And right now, Dante Ricky, he's searching. He's actually running a little bit higher there out of 3 and 4. He's been testing the waters over in 1 and 2. He's trying to find some way to get around the 13. And of course, as we already earlier alluded to, the reason being he's got to get that bonus point for a lap led that Melson and Bernie Mobbs already have.
Absolutely. He's got to figure out what he has to do to get up there, because I'm not really sure how many laps that 13 of Dave Melson and Bernie Mobbs have already led to begin with, because there's an extra. I'm thinking there might be an extra point for the most laps led too. And all it takes is 1 point to win and lose this championship, Seth. And you alluded to it about how aerodynamically this track is. I'm looking at the 143. Remember Bob Dixon took a really hard shot? He's got no back end, and he has lost the pack badly. He's back here in 17th, about 10 seconds back almost from the leaders. Jim Glaude's back here, Rodney Sullins, Robbie Nice's, Frank Rivard. I mean, I'm not sure how badly damaged the 35 machine is. I don't know if it's a bad restart for the 35 and the 54, but I just noticed that they're way off the pace right now, and I'm not sure if this is strategy. It might be due to getting held up on a restart or something, one or the other.
Yeah, we know the 35 of Frank Rivard had that near moment over in turn 2, but was able to save it. And I'm almost wondering if maybe drivers like Cy Jones and Mitch Bombard, if maybe they had to check up for him to recover his race car, and that might have been why they lost the lead pack. As Bernie Mobbs, Grant Wesley, much like a super speedway, 2-car tandem down the front straightaway, and that allows Bernie Mobbs to get to the inside of Dante Ricky for second.
Yeah, they're not playing nice with that 84. That 84 has been consistent all season long, and I don't know if Dante's just gonna. Earlier when you were trying to talk to him and I asked you had to repeat yourself, Seth. I was talking to Dante, told him I saw a little bit of a twitch or a little bit of a slight little lag on his end, and he a couple laps later was confirming that he did see his thing go up in yellow for a moment. So he knows that there is a slight issue with his connection. It doesn't look to be too bad. I told him it wasn't that bad from what I was seeing, so should be pretty good to still race.
Bernie Mobbs just got kicked up the high side as well, as Balcom took the third spot away from him. Grant Wesley has now moved up there to the second spot on Dave Melson. Wesley, of course, the runner-up last night in the Truck Series race with the Bare Bones Racing Series to Sean Prime, so doesn't want to finish bridesmaid for the second night in a row. And as I'm looking here as well, Jess, those 3 drivers coming in here battling for the Chase Championship, only one of them has been to victory lane this season, and that was Dante Ricky. So, for Dave Melson and Bernie Mobbs, not only do they want to win the championship, but I think they want to get their first win of the season.
Well, they have a tall order in order to get that, because Jeremy Jeffries isn't too far behind him. Andre Marjon's coming to the high side of Bernie Mobbs, looking in and out, thinking about making the pass as well. Jeremy Jeffries on that high side. Look at him come up there. Jeremy Jeffries with a huge run. And whoa, little contact between the 90 and the 13. 13 slides way up. He is able to save it coming off that corner. That could have been a lot worse than what it was. And that could have ended that 13's chance for a championship run right there from this chase segment.
It looks very similar to what we saw when Bob Dixon got turned around earlier on in this race. Fortunately for Dave Melson, I think he was able to utilize every groove of 1 and 2 and did not hit the wall. However, this drops him back now to the 10th position. He was running at the time, battling with Bernie Mobbs for 4th.
And they are approaching a slower machine. That is the slower machine of Mitch Bombard in the 97 that they're coming up on. Mitch Bombard going a little bit higher up to give the leaders right away to go by him without any issues, which is very respectful indeed of how this series works. A lot of respect shown here as Mitch gets out of the way for these leaders. And like I was saying, Jeremy Jeffries, where in the world is he going? He has come out like a rocket now, so a little mistake by Dave, but right before that, he started pushing and trying to be a little bit more aggressive, trying to work his way up there. And Andre Marchand is just going to leave him out to dry and go to the high side and back off now. But Jeremy Jeffries is another driver I'm thinking that he's going to get up there with this battle between Grant and Robert going on at the front before long.
He wants to keep the streak going. He wants to have 5 in a row to finish out the season, having won the last 4 Winston Cup Series races coming into tonight.
97 has killed off in the pit road, by the way, Seth. So I don't know if we're about to start seeing pit cycles start. The 8's on the high side of Bernie Mobs. 27, trying to figure out who he's going to go with. He's going to go with Jeremy Jeffries.
Yeah, Andre Mahjong and Jeremy Jeffries going to use the second groove. Chuck McClure moves up there for a brief moment as well. And that little bit of maybe a push on the back straightaway was enough to forward the 8 car to the 3rd position. Mahjong now trying to take 4th. That smoke you saw there on pit road was the 97 coming to
I think there's
lane.
another car on pit road, too. Yep, it's the number 35 of Frank Brevard. He's on pit road as well, Seth. And there's caution. Caution's on the track. Turn 1, apron.
Mitch Bombard in the 97. I think that's the 87 of Benoit Plord I might have seen there as well.
Yes, it is the 87 Benoit Plord. He's getting around, getting ready to get it back going again, Seth. I don't know what happened. I was stifling trying to get on pit road when I saw that the yellow lights were on. I saw smoke in turn 1.
I'm going to hazard a guess because we talked about it pre-race. That apron coming off of pit road in turn 1, the car wants to loop around. I almost wonder if maybe Mitch Bombard might have lost his machine and maybe slid up the track, collecting up the 87 of Plord.
Dante just told me that I asked him if he was all right. He said he's got a little bit of damage. So the 84 with a slight bit of contact somewhere.
He caught up in this one as well. He was. And this actually had nothing to do with pit road. Contact between Dante Ricky and Stefan Martel coming off of turn 4 onto the front straightaway. Here it is. Oh, Dante just got really high off of turn 4 and got the wall. That killed his momentum. Stefan Martel gets into him, and then Benoit Plord gets into the back end of him as well. Fortunately for the 97 of Mitch Bombard, he had just left pit road. Otherwise, these two might have slid into him. One of the tough things about Atlanta as well, when that car gets tight, especially coming off of turn 4, and you've got a car right on your back bumper, when you get the wall, it hugs you in, and it brings you down 5 to 10 miles per hour slower than what you were running, and there's just no reaction time for that car behind. Stefan Martel, there was just nothing he could do. He was committed to the line he was running, which was on that high side as well with the 84.
And I'm just saying, so.
There's a look at it again. There's the contact through the grass, back up the track, and nowhere for the 87 of Benoit Plord to go. Dante not only getting hit in the back, but then nosing it into the outside wall as well. That's damage on both sides for that machine.
Well, I apologize. I was being whispered by Dante at that moment, Seth. With Dante's damage, do you think it's going to be significant enough to actually keep him up there competitive-wise, or do you think that's a little bit too much, Seth?
It's the back end of the car, so I'm not sure. The back end hit between himself and Benoit Plord, it was rather square, so he might get away with it. It just really depends on how much damage was sustained to the front. It didn't look like a hard shot like we saw Jim Gloud and Bob Dixon take earlier over in turn 1. So he might be all right, but we're going to have to wait and see. It's going to be a waiting game as far as that's concerned. The problem here for Dante Ricky is, and we saw him work his way from 12th up to the top 3. Now he's going to be at the rear of the field, having to cut his way through traffic as well, with what could be a wounded race car.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow, it's really.
Yeah, he's still trying to get that car going.
He just whispered me, Seth, 6 seconds of body damage.
Boy, I don't know. I don't know if that car is going to be up to speed or not. 6 seconds, that's a lot. And the question is, what were they repairing? Were they repairing the front? Were they repairing the back? Were they repairing both? Because if they were repairing the front, that's where the engine's at. And so that could make things very interesting.
Dante said they did a little bit on the back, but predominantly it was the right side. Because remember, that's where you hit the wall coming off the corner, so they were more focused on the right side. A little bit of damage on the back, but not too much. I mean, so I don't know if that's going to be enough to really aggravate him, but you know, Dante's been really consistent all season, so.
Plus the fact as well, this race, as we've seen, the way that the cars handle, very aerodynamic. So, you know, if that car is up to speed, the one thing that might be a problem for Dante Ricci is he may not be able to get quite the runs on somebody going into a corner as he was able to get when that car was up to full song, as we saw Frank Rivard come down pit road.
Well, that's not what I'm really concerned about, Seth. I mean, yeah, you've got the issue that he might have problems, but if he is good, if that 84 machine is still good, I want to point out this one small thing. He's got a heck of a lot of traffic he's got to navigate to get around to even get back up to that front again.
And as we saw earlier on, slowly, methodically worked his way to the front, preserving his tires. Now, his tires are going to be awfully worn if he's able to get back up there into the top 5. I thought the 35 of Frank Rivard was supposed to come around. I thought he was supposed to be one of the 2 lucky dogs, but he has not done so. Mitch Bombard, who was another of the 2 lucky dog machines, actually did go around to get his lap back. So we'll try and figure out what's going on there with the 35 of Frank Rivard as we are closing in on halfway through this race. We're nearly there. It's going to be Grant Wesley leading us to the green over Bernie Mobbs, Robert Balcom, Jeremy Jeffries, and Chuck McClure, the top 5.
And check out that restart again, Seth. Look at that restart. Look at how that one went compared to the ones prior.
So that time the inside line worked. So I don't know. Maybe I made up a theory that has absolutely no.
Oh, they're out of shape back here. 3 wide, several rows deep. They get it square and ready to go. They're good now. I'm sorry, Seth. I thought they were about to wreck there.
That was the 35 again, having an issue there through 1 and 2, and that's what checked everybody up. So Frank Rivard on fresh tires does not like turns 1 and 2 on the restart.
Now Dante Ricci has to do what a lot of us don't like having to do when we're in this position. We got a really good car. We know what we can do. We know what we're capable of. We know where we should finish at. We get set back. Now we got to battle through this whole group again just to get there, and we've only got maybe what about 57 laps to do it in?
Yeah, about 57 laps. You're right. And the thing of it is too, you know, for Dante Ricci, we still have to point out the fact he hasn't led a lap. He's got a bonus point deficit to his other 2 championship competitors, so he's really behind the 8 ball as things stand, but we are halfway through. There's still half the race left to go. It's still a never give up hope situation for the 84.
I'm right on the far chase with the 84 right now. He seems to be doing all right. He seems to be pretty well received. Seth, I have to ask you, can you tell me what speed the leaders are going on the stretch?
Well, looks like our race leaders are hitting around 179 going into turn 1.
And Dante is right there with them. He's slowing down to about 165, 166 because he's in traffic. But right before he had to slow down, he was around 180. So, I mean, seems like that 84 car is okay, but he can't afford another hit. Otherwise, that would definitely touch up and basically take away the championship from him, this chase segment.
Absolutely. That's Terry Baum in the 69, way up there in the 3rd lane. Thought about going around Chris Elliott as we're focused on the 13 of Dave Melson. Right now, Dave has fallen back to the 6th position, so Bernie Mobbs running in 2nd place, if the race were to end now, would be your champion as far as the chase is concerned. Melson trying to work his way back up to the front, but they're lined up nose to tail on that outside line with Balcom, McClure, and Elliott.
Yeah, there's a gap all the way back to that 13 Dave Melson. It's 57, and Stefan Martel swings really high off turn 3 in front of Dante Ricci. They're side by side, several rows deep here. I mean, I don't know. Would you like to have a gap behind you, knowing that would be helping the draft, or would you rather be up in one of these lines on this high side?
Right now, I wouldn't want to be up in this lead pack. They're going double wide and peeking out 3 wide up here. This is about maybe the most aggressive we've seen them since the drop of the green flag. So with Dante Ricky being back there in traffic right now, I think he's got to definitely keep his eyes out forward just in case someone makes some contact to make sure he gets through the wreck if it occurs. Now things start to settle out a little bit up inside of the top 5. Best battle now is going to be for 4th between Wesley and Balcom.
There's a big battle going on back here where Jim Cloud is, and this is roughly around for the 12th, 10th position. I mean, I'm noticing stuff that they're still going in these corners kind of deep, and they're sliding up really bad. Like Stephon Martel, he went really deep into turn 3, slid right up. So if I'm not mistaken, they're carrying a lot more speed in these corners, and in my opinion, they're kind of slightly overdriving it, which is opening that bottom, and they're expecting to come right back down and get that position back because they're overdriving it a little bit. So these tires, after a little bit, they're going to start wearing, and it's going to be a little bit more harder to hold.
There's a couple of drivers that might actually be overdriving it going into turns 1 and 3 on the high side. Terry Baumann goes in there in the second groove, slips up over the cushion of the dark gray to the light gray into that third line, and it's also looking like Jim Gloud might be pushing up into that third lane a little bit as well. So to your point, yeah, I think these drivers are taking the corners maybe a little bit more aggressively than they did. Maybe because of the fact we are counting the laps down now, and every position matters, I guess, for these drivers to set them up for what could possibly be the finish of this race. Question is it going to be down to green flag pit stops, or is it going to be down to late race cautions?
Well, Seth, in my opinion, I have no idea because with as aggressive as they are, we have no idea if they're going to have another caution or not. They're side by side several rows deep back here, and they're pushing up, sliding up. And this whole pack, if you look at this whole pack, 20 cars all the way back to Robbie Nice's 3.8 seconds from first back to where Robbie is in the 54 machine. And then you've got Cy Jones running about 10 seconds back, and then obviously the 2 lap machines of Frank Rivard and Mitch Bombard there. But, I mean, this whole pack is somewhat still together.
I'm not sure if Dante Ricky got out of shape there through 1 and 2, but he definitely clipped the apron coming off of turn 2 and now drifts back into the clutches of Rodney Sullins for the 13th position. So it was hard to tell just exactly what might have happened to him through that second corner, but he definitely had a much lower exit out of turn 2 than most drivers would want.
Absolutely, and you know, you've been on this side as well, Seth, where you're holding the bottom so much, and you're trying to hold that bottom, and sometimes you get a little bit too low, you get on that little bit of a paint grip line, and all of a sudden it goes right down, and the system wants to pull you right down no matter where you go.
Yep, absolutely. Is Andre Mahjong now getting around Terry Baumann for what I believe would be the 9th position. Jim Gloud now trying to crack the top 10. Up at the front, things have settled out. Well, as I say that, yeah, Bernie Mobbs now under fire from Grant Wesley. But how interesting the fact that we ended up talking about Dave Melson when that green flag came out for the restart, kind of being mired back in 6th. He's now been able to work his way back up to the front of the field.
And Jeremy Jeffries up here right on this high side. I mean, I don't know what he's trying to do, Seth, but he's trying to make something happen up there.
Yeah, he's trying to get that front straightaway and back straightaway run. The problem is he's losing time in the corner running up in that second groove. So it's kind of just canceling things out. And he actually did lose a position there to Chuck McClure. So I don't know if he's testing the waters up there or what, but apparently it did not work out for him in his favor that time.
Well, remember what we saw last night with
Sorry, I was just reacting to Grant Wesley. I mean, he drove it really deep on that high side into turn 1, almost to the back bumper of Bernie Mobbs.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting kind of racy up there, but I was just going to bring back here to the 27 of Andre Marchand. From side by side with Jim Gloud, and this is for 10th and 9th position here. I mean, Jim Gloud, a little bit of damage early on. It doesn't seem to be affecting him that much back here.
No, it really doesn't. So, which really surprises me because that car nosed it into the outside wall when he and Bob Dixon were trying to avoid a wreck over in 1 and 2. So apparently it didn't affect him that much. Maybe being in the draft is the key factor for that 72. Up here at the front, though, we almost had another wreck as Almost some door banging on the front straightaway between Chuck McClure and Grant Wesley in the battle for third place. McClure now in possession of that. And we got a brewing battle behind them for the 5th position. That's Jeremy Jeffries trying to hold off Robert Balcom.
Seth, how many times have we seen Robert Balcom not be up front and just riding his race and randomly gets up there? I mean, last night was a surprise that we didn't see him do a little bit more than what we normally see him do. But, I mean, this is a self-draft. This is pretty much all draft reliant right at this moment. And all these drivers from first back to 12th seem to be running pretty well. I mean, Dante is losing a little bit of the touch with the drivers, it seems like, but he seems like he's bringing it back now. But I mean, Seth, with the way they're running single file, all it takes is one little checkup, and then it just screws up your whole corner, your whole entry, your whole exit, and then you're out of shape. So I mean, to see what they're doing right now, I mean, I'm not sure whether I'd rather be single file or I'd rather be going side by side at this moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I kind of think at this point, they're in a bit of a feeling out process, trying to see what line works, what they could do in the closing stages of this race, because let's speculate that this thing goes green to the end. We know that they're going to have to be on pit road at least one more time. Field's going to get broken up into little packs, and so you've got to maybe figure out what your car would be capable of doing by itself, because if you make a move, there may not be someone necessarily there to help push you to that position. So I think right now it's a feeling out period for these drivers, seeing what their cars are capable of into a run. Who knows, maybe at this stage of this run might be where we're at in the stage of a run leading to the checkered flag.
Yeah, Seth, quick question for you. If you are Dante Ricky, in your mind, what are you going to do? You're going to play pit strategy to try to cut these guys in half to do the fuel strategy, or what are you going to do here? Because we're on lap 76, pit stops are coming around. So what would your game plan be? I mean, obviously, you know, I haven't been able to talk to Dante about that. Dante hasn't asked me or mentioned anything to me about that, but I'm just wondering, what would your game plan be if it were you in this position? Would you try to do something outside the box for pit strategy just to see if you could get in front of that 13 and that 90?
Well, right now, I think Dante, I think we're starting to see the longer this run goes on, that damage is affecting him. He's been mired back in 13th and not made any forward progress as we nearly just wrecked for second. Bernie Mobbs was out of shape after contact from Chuck McClure, so that would have just been academic in terms of Dante Ricky's strategy, but since we're green...
17 gave the 90 a bump right there going in that corner. Did you see that?
Yes, indeed. Boy, that's the second bit of contact those two have had in this lap. Close quarter racing, and that's one of our championship competitors right there. Going back to Dante Ricky, I think right now, just based on the situation he's in, you do the opposite of whatever the 13 and the 90 do. If they come to pit road early, you stay out as long as you possibly can. If they end up coming to pit road late, then I think maybe you try and overshoot them a little bit. Maybe come down a couple of laps early. But I think right now, if I'm Dante Ricky, I think I'm running this thing out of fuel, because let's say Bernie Mobbs and Dave Melson come to pit road even 2 laps before he does. If he puts them a lap down and a caution comes out, they may not be necessarily in line for the lucky dog. So you've taken 2 of your championship competitors and trapped them off the lead lap.
Absolutely. And I just saw someone get out of shape right behind the 18 of Robert Balcom. I have no idea what happened, but I think that was Chuck McClure that got in the wall. I'm not really sure about that, Seth.
I think it was, and Jeremy Jeffries, Grant Wesley both had to take some rather evasive action on the back straightaway, and the 17, as you can see, is dropping. Chris Elliott goes by. Ronald Lucet trying to go by. I mean, as he comes around, oh yeah, that right side is pancaked on that number 17 Chevrolet.
All right, if you don't mind, continue with the live feed. I am going to go back and see what happened with the 17 real quick.
Jump up here to this battle now that's going to be for second place between Bernie Mobbs and Robert Balcom. Talked about Jeremy Jeffries coming into this race with 4 wins in a row. Robert Balcom has been able to do the same this season. Balcom has 9 wins on the year. Jeremy Jeffries has 12. and they'd love to be able to pad those statistics here in this season finale. Jeffries now to the inside of Bernie Mobbs.
I was just looking at that. What happened was there was a huge run by Jeremy Jeffries and it bumped the back end just so slightly of the 17. The 17 got out of shape. Luckily, he saved it. He hit the wall really hard, but he saved it though.
It's interesting because that's the second bit of contact we've seen, someone's front bumper to somebody's rear bumper here in the last 10 laps. So these drivers getting a lot more aggressive. They're getting these runs with the CTS physics, trying to line up the bumpers for bump drafts, and apparently it is not working. As Robert Balcom to the lead, Jeremy Jeffries looking to follow him. He's going to look to the inside of Dave Melson for second. Grant Wesley right there with him. For Dave Melson, he doesn't necessarily, again, have to win this race to win the championship. He just has to keep the 90 and the 84 in his rearview mirror. So he's got to get himself tucked down in line here quickly, and he does so in front of Grant Wesley.
Chuck McClure, he's really fallen off the pace. He's back here running a ninth, and I don't know what he's going to do. He might have to pit with Dante. I mean, thinking about how Dante's already fallen off the pace, Seth, Dante's like way back there right now, and he's praying for a caution. You know he is, and at the same time, the leaders, I mean, Dave and Bernie are up there. He's praying that they get involved in something like he had earlier happen to him.
And it's going to be interesting if we do get to green flag pit stops to watch how these drivers approach pit road, because it's a high banking in 3 and 4 coming down to a flat apron and a flat pit road entrance. And these drivers, I think, with these worn tires, are really going to have to deal with some loose conditions heading to that commitment line. So we could maybe see some drivers have some pit road mistakes. And going back there to Chuck McClure as well, not only does he have that right side damage, but Atlanta is so much a momentum track. You get up into the wall or you slow a little too much, drivers are going to take advantage of that. Speaking of taking advantage, Frank Rivard back here, a lap machine way down to the inside of Jim Glaude. This is not for position. Right now, Rivard is -1. Glaude is running in the 11th position. So very aggressive racing there out of a lap machine with drivers that are just outside of the top 10.
And I want to point out something, Seth. Mitch in the 97 and the 7 of Cy Jones, they're pitting, so pit stops are cycling through right now.
Yeah, remember we saw Mitch Bombard come down pit road earlier, and then a caution came out just a couple laps afterwards with Dante Ricky and Benoit Plord. So we'll see if we actually do get the full cycle of green flag pit stops this time, because we got a good battle for the lead going on here as well. Robert Balcom, Jeremy Jeffries, and the 8 just kind of backed off there. I'm wondering if that 8 car might be coming to pit road here.
Well, we know Dante's in right now. Chris Elliott's in. I don't see anyone else coming at this moment. Chris Elliott's in. Bernie Mobbs has come
13's in. And also the 90s. So all 3 of our championship competitors in. Ooh, Andre Mahjong. Man, he almost didn't make the commitment line. He came in hot. I don't know if he came in too hot. That's the question. Bob Dixon
that
and
could have
Stephen
been
Martello
that could have been really bad stuff, because if you overshoot your stall and try to get back out right there on pit road from the pit road to the track area, you get the point. It's really tough, because we've seen a lot of times where we wanted to come down pit road and we almost missed pit road and it wants to pull us right back out or pull straight back down. That could have been a lot worse than what it was.
Look at the smoke show coming down to pit road. We saw Robbie Nisus smoking the rear tires, trying to slow it down. Robert Balcom smoked the tires. Ron Lucet smoked the tires. I mean, these guys, they are aggressively hitting pit lane, and obviously those tires are going to be changed, but they're using up every last bit of Goodyear rubber.
I'm watching Andre Marjon. He just came off pit road, Seth, and he was in turn 1, and he moved, and he got really loose, went right up on the track a little bit, and came right back down on the apron trying to hold it. So it's really loose. You know how we've talked about coming in, how loose off it is on that apron? Andre Marjon just about had a little bit of an issue himself coming off pit road.
John Godfrey is in. Rodney Sullins also in. And just going by them, that is the 63 of Andre Rayum pitting. So this should complete the cycle of pit stops around to, I believe, Robert Balcom is going to get the race lead back. But
And
again,
using 3 and 4.
and again, it's just like we didn't even have a round of pit stops.
Whoa! Someone in front of Robbie Nisus.
Through the grass in the 54 car.
He came off of turn 4 really high and went straight down and was trying to hold. I'm not sure why he was trying to get to pit road or slow down or what. He comes right back up on track. Hopefully he's going to make it okay.
Still green. I saw him way up the track there as well when we were cycling through the field. And oh boy, look at this four-way battle for the lead. Robert Balcom getting out of Dodge, or maybe got forced out of Dodge, as he's going to get moved from the lead all the way back to 4th.
And I want to point out, Dave Nelson's right behind Grant Wesley, but where's Bernie Mobbs? Bernie Mobbs is several spots back, not right up with him at all. Quite a little ways back to find the 90 of Bernie Mobbs.
And both the 90 and the 13 came to pit road together. And so you're right, much different situations leaving pit road for those two championship competitors. And you can see the difference of fresh tires to old tires. Bernie Mobbs actually just ran his fastest lap of the race. So did Andre Mahjong. A lot of these drivers with these fresh tires picking up an awful lot of speed here.
And we're closing in. I mean, Seth, when we get 15, or I think the rule is 15 to go, they race back in all series. Now, with that being said, you also got to look at how there is a lap machine. So there's also the issue that the caution could come out and end the race at what is it, 110?
I believe so, yeah. I think they run about 3 or 4 pace laps, so I think completion of 110 would be what they'd be shooting for.
So what do you think they're trying to do right now? Do you think Bernie's trying to push it really hard to catch Dave Nelson at this point right now so he can make sure he's there ahead of Dave Nelson when they come to 110, just in case that caution does come out?
I think he has to. I think he definitely has to. I mean, right now there's about 6 cars between himself and Dave Nelson. Nelson right now in the 3rd spot. So I think if you're Bernie Mobbs, you've got these fresh tires. You've got to take advantage of them. And you've got to get yourself at least up there in the same vicinity as the 13. Because if we end up having a caution come out and end up having a restart, you want to be at least nose to tail with that 13 car. So you've got a shot of picking up at least one position. That's all you need on the 13 car, because the both of them have led laps today. I'm almost wondering, you talked about that lap led bonus point for most laps led. I don't know if either one of them have picked up that bonus point or not. I'm going to quickly take a look here. And yes, it would actually go to the 13 of Dave Nelson, who has led 41 laps here tonight.
Is there any chance that any other drivers could top Dave Nelson's 41 laps?
Let's see. We're closing in here. 20 laps to go. No, there is no chance. The only drivers that could even get close, Robert Balcom, if he led the final 20 laps, he'd be up to 35. If Bernie Mobbs led the final 20 laps, he'd be up to 38. So no, Dave Nelson's got that most laps led bonus point wrapped up.
Okay, well, if anyone is just now joining us here on FRN, we are broadcasting the RTG Winston Cup Series chase segment here. Final race of the season, Atlanta 05. 3 championship competitors, Bernie Mobbs, Dante Ricky, Dave Nelson battling out for the segment. Dante Ricky unfortunately had a lot of issues a little earlier on, got involved into an incident. He's fallen back all the way back into 13th position, 13.5 seconds back. Right now we are looking at the 90 and the 13 battling for this overall chase segment, Seth. The 13, as we just alluded to, has that extra bonus point along with the 90, but there's that extra bonus point for leading the most laps, which is right around the 13's finger. No one can touch him, so now Bernie has to go out there and finish at least 2 spots ahead of that 13.
And as things are running right now, at least at the front of the field, the likelihood of a caution coming out is looking slim to none. So for Bernie Mobbs, who currently still is running mired in that 8th position, he has got to get up here and pass these guys. He's got to have himself around that 13, I would say, with at least 2 laps to go, because that car is not drafting up to the back bumper of Chris Elliott that quickly. So I'm not really sure that that car is 100%, despite the fact we haven't seen him get involved in a wreck here tonight.
He might have touched the outside wall a couple of times as well. We just haven't been able to see it. I don't know if there's any damage on the right side of the 90 machine, but I know that Dave Melson kind of got kicked up on that high side, so he's going to drop back. And this might be Bernie's only shot here to get a run coming in.
Yeah, Melson trying to tuck down in line there. He would have gotten freight trained if he didn't. As up at the front, Grant Wesley took a little peek to the outside of Jeremy Jeffries, pushing him almost into turn 3.
And speaking about how we're coming in this race, touch up on a couple of smaller little point issues that are going on. Bob Dixon has currently been running around the 15th position, about 15 and a half seconds back. He's currently battling with Benoit Poirier for a 1 point position separation between him and Benoit for what is the 4th position in the overall chase. Benoit Poirier, however, is currently running down in the 17th position. So right now, Bob Dixon looks to steal up the 4th position overall in the chase. The other battle is going on, Jim Gloud and Mitch Bombard up here. Jim Gloud doing pretty decent, hanging around the top 10 still, so really good for him. Mitch, unfortunately, 2 laps down, so it looks like Jim Gloud will be officially 8th in points, maybe more, depending on how these final points, pretty much shake out.
And it's interesting, too, if we're talking about those championship 3 here for the chase segment coming into tonight's race, because they're your top 3 in the overall stands as well. We know that Dante Ricci's already wrapped up the championship, but Bernie Mobbs was 2nd and Dave Melson was 3rd. So all 3 of these drivers battling it out for the chase championship, the top 3 drivers in the overall series.
Yes, absolutely. And, these guys... That's something spectacular that you have to be consistent this whole season, in and out. We've seen Dante be consistent all season, in and out, and this is one of those rare times a random mulligan has gotten him. But Seth, we still got about 10 laps to go. Anything can and will happen at the blink of an eye. Because remember what we saw last night, and remember what we have miraculously seen with engine damage regarding Sean Prime last night in the 15 machine. Anything can happen, especially with this race. We've had it just a little bit, all of it happen so far this race. Single file, side by side, nearly 3 wide, issues coming off pit road, loose issues, too low, too high up in the wall, damage realistic. Anything can happen 10 laps to go. They're going to be a little bit more aggressive to get this win. And these guys up at the front, Jeremy Jeffries, Grant Wesley, Robert Balcom, they're going for the win. They don't have to worry about this championship. And we've seen all 3 of them battle each and every weekend at a different series. So, they know what they want. They're going to go try to get it. The only thing is, 13 of Dave Melson's right there. And if Melson makes one mistake and gets a little bit too over anxious, that's all it takes.
Yeah, I think if you're Dave Melson right now, you erase any ideas of winning this event because you currently have a nice cushion between yourself and that 90 of Bernie Mobbs to be able to wrap up this championship. Don't want to tear up your race car here closing in down the home stretch. To your point, though, these top 3, nothing on the line for them. It's bring home the checkered flag or bring home the steering wheel. It's going to be Robert Balcom getting around Grant Wesley for 2nd. That 88 has looked just a little bit off, maybe getting just a little bit too tight on corner exit, has not been able to draft up to the back bumper of the 8. Now with Balcom out in front of him, they're actually making some progress.
They got a lap car right there between Wesley and the 4th place machine as well of Dave Melson. So Melson has a little bit trying, to go through if he really wants to seal it off with a win. But however, I agree with you completely. Just race. You're ahead of the 90 machine. You got a handful of laps left. Just relax and ease into it and run and hit your marks, and you'll be good. That's what the 13 needs to worry and focus on right now.
Those couple of cars we saw get put a lap down, the 21 of Randy Waugh, the 87 of Benoit Poirier, both drivers with front-end damage. Randy Waugh getting into Richard Martin, who flipped up in turn 1 earlier on this race. Benoit Poirier ran to the back of Dante Ricci on the front straightaway, so that's why we saw them just a little bit off the pace and fall off the lead lap here under green flag conditions. But it's 7 laps to go here at Atlanta. Throw a blanket over the top 3. It's the 8, the 18, and the 88. Balcom, Jeffries, and Wesley trying to close out the season with a trip to victory lane.
And you got to feel for that 84 machine, Dante Ricky, way back there on the other side of the racetrack, Seth. I mean, he's trying everything to keep it going, trying to stay positive. But hey, the overall season, great job for that 84. He's probably going to end up finishing third here in these final laps. But hey, 84, really great season, no matter which way you look at it completely.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's more of a feat to be able to be consistent enough through 36 races to be able to win a championship.
84 in the wall. He's off. He's through the grass going toward pit road, Seth.
And that's not too far ahead of the race leaders. Fortunately, does get it down to the
And he's
pit
retired.
road. Yeah, he's out. Not the way Dante Ricky wanted to end off the season here, despite being the overall champion. But as I was going to say, I mean, I think it's a more tremendous feat to be consistent through 36 races to be able to win a championship. You know, we know the playoff system, the chase system, it's 10 races, so it's, what, less than a third of the season to be able to battle for a championship. So definitely a huge championship for Dante Ricky winning the overall one, but I know he would have loved to have been not only the overall, but the chase champion as well. Right now, though, Dave Melson holds the spot, and he's got 4 more circuits to hold on to it.
Meanwhile, up near the front, looks like there's a little bit of a gap starting to form between the leaders. I mean, there's a small little gap between Robert Balcom and Jeremy Jeffries. Do you expect Robert to start pushing it anytime soon for him, or do you think he's already worn everything out?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, wow, he's got to get around Cy Jones, who got the wall there off of 4. He's getting good runs. He's getting good runs off of turn 4 and turn 2. The question is, to your point, how much grip does he have to be able to make a move? I think Grant Wesley used up quite a bit of his stuff trying to reel in the 8 machine. We're going to have to see if that 8 has been able to hold anything back and continue to grow this gap between himself and Robert Balcom. But as soon as I say that, Balcom and Wesley close the back up yet again. It's going to be 2 to go this time by.
It's been a really great race. That's long green flag runs, couple of cautions, long green flag runs, couple of cautions back and forth. And it's just throwing a wrench into everything, seeing these drivers up near the front push and push and push and push and try to ease off and fall back a little bit, trying to save what they have. Right now, no one's saving anything, especially these top 3.
No, not at all. These drivers are trying to use up every little bit that their race car and their tires and their engine will give them. As off turn 4, they'll see the white flag. Jeremy Jeffries has 12 wins. He's won the last 4 in a row. Robert Balcom has 9 wins. He's looking to hit double digits in the win column. Grant Wesley still in the conversation, looking for his 3rd win of the season.
He's going to overdrive this corner.
Yeah, he tried.
I think that's going to write it off for Wesley right there off of that corner, what he did off of turn 2. And looks like Robert's trying to make one more comeback. One more little edge down at the bottom. He will not have enough, Seth.
Just not close enough for Robert Balcom, as Jeremy Jeffries will win 5 in a row. 13 wins on the season. Closes out the year with a victory. And Dave Melson is going to bring it home in the 5th position. He lost 4th to Ron Lucet in those final few laps. But top 5 is going to be enough to win the Winston Cup Series Chase Championship.
1-8-8-8-8-8 right there all together. Made a 3-wide little salute there, Seth, between those 3.
What a season finale.
You can't take anything away from the 90 of Bernie Mobbs, though. He was up at the front as long as he could with that 13 machine. Did everything he needed to correctly. Lost the lead right off the back to the 13. Got it back. Countered with that lap lead with his own lap lead. And they were right there for the longest time. I just think what happened was pit stops came into effect and came into play, getting in and getting off, and that's what set the 90 back. But you can't take away anything from the 84 of Dante Ricky this race, getting caught up in a slight little issue that he had, and then you have the 90 getting caught up in the issue as well. You know, pit road. I mean, can't take it away from these drivers.
Absolutely not. But what a statement race here for Dave Melson. Came into this race, going to be finishing, it looks like 3rd overall in the points for the season. But he came into tonight's race, qualified almost on pole, starting the outside of the front row, led 41 laps here tonight, the most laps led and brings home the championship here for the Chase as well. So a little bit of sweet redemption for the driver of the Armor All Chevrolet.
Yes, indeed. We gave you top five, top six, and six on down. We've got Andre Marjan finishing sixth in the number 27 machine. Good run for him because we saw him in the front for quite a while, Seth. The 9 of Chris Elliott comes home seventh. Eighth will be Bernie Mobbs finishing one spot shy of this Chase Championship segment for getting it done, unfortunately, but still a good run for Bernie Mobbs in the 90 crew. Jim Glaude, he was up near the front and he had a little bit of issue earlier on. He went to the back, came all the way back up, get himself a top 10, so really good job done with that 72 machine. And Chuck McClure, we saw him have an issue early on, Seth, get sideways, go to the back, gather it back up. He finishes really nicely in the 10th position too.
Absolutely. I mean, Chuck McClure, that's a bit of a comeback run for him. Don't know how much damage he really sustained on that right side, but to salvage a top 10 run, very well done for him. That's why in these long races, you stick it out because you never know what kind of fish you'll come away with. Ronnie Sullins, John Godfrey, a couple of drivers we really didn't talk much about here tonight. They're going to get 11th and 12th. Stephen Martell in 13th, and Bob Dixon, that rear end damage that he got all the way back early on in this race on lap 18. Excuse me. He's still able to finish on the lead lap in the 14th position. Terry Baumann was the first car one lap down, completing the top 15.
Absolutely, and got a few drivers a lap down here. Terry Baumann, Randy Waugh, Benoit Plord, all one lap down. Cy Jones comes home 18th with 2 laps down. Robbie Nices, Andre Reum, Mitch Bombard, and then the first car 3 laps down will be Frank Rivard in the 35 machine, who actually had a really good run going. I have no idea how much damage he originally had, but whatever damage he had, it must have really affected him. Dante Ricky, unfortunately, we saw him. He was battling a really bad car the whole race, a little bit of damage, and then he just couldn't drive it anymore. He mentioned it or whispered that it was so tight he couldn't drive it. It was too tight for him. So, he ended up parking it. And Richard Martin, who had that horrendous crash earlier on, flipping and barrel rolling several times off the corner off of turn 2, Seth. I mean, unfortunate for him, he will finish in the 24th position out of the race.
That's your full finishing results from tonight's event. Let's see if we can get some words with some of our top 3 finishers here tonight. We'll also take the opportunity to speak with our overall series champion as well as tonight's Chase champion. But let's kick things off with third place finisher Grant Wesley. Hey, Grant, it's Jessica and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
Hey, what's up?
Well, it was getting a little bit to be a nail biter there in the closing stages of this race. You top 3, you had yourself separated by maybe about 5 car lengths, coming to 5 laps to go. It looked like maybe, just maybe, though, your car was getting a little bit tighter on the exit of the corners. Did you use up your stuff just a little bit too early there, coming to that checker flag?
Yeah, after that green flag pit stop, I just filed in there behind Jeremy, and I was just trying to kind of work with him and Robert, and just kind of break away from the rest of the field maybe a little bit, and then sort it out amongst the 3 of us later on. But with like 18 to go, I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, I can actually pass him right now. I probably ought to make a move. And then so I picked the pace up just a little bit, and so did Jeremy. He was reading me. He was watching that mirror. He did a really great job. And so anytime I'd pick the pace up, those other 2 would. And you just get a little bit tighter when you're behind a car. And so generally, if you're running the same pace, you're going to burn up a little bit more tire. And yeah, that's exactly what I did. I just burned them up.
We saw. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Grant. I mean, go ahead, Seth. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, we saw a number of drivers use that second groove during these restarts, and you were one of those drivers up there. It looked like that outside line could make some progress, but did you have to have somebody up there drafting with you, or was it possible by yourself to be able to make a pass on that outside line?
I mean, it was kind of like a Talladega deal, it just depended on how many cars were in the line. If you had 2 or 3 cars on the bottom, you definitely couldn't be up top by yourself. But yeah, if you had someone up there with you, it definitely helped, and you could definitely make the outside work.
Well, Grant, early on, Seth and I were talking about what you had said last night regarding the championship group. With when Sean Prime ended up winning the race. Um, you told us in the interview that you don't care if they're the championship group. You don't really pay attention to who's in the championship. You go out there and just go all out and just race how it's supposed to be. Don't worry about who's in the championship and who's not. Just treat everyone equal. Is that exactly what you did again tonight? Because there was a point where it seemed like you were backing off with the top 2 or 3 when Dante and Bernie and Dave were all up there running 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, no, generally, I mean, I race everybody the same. I would race them, everybody just as hard as the next guy. Tonight, man, they had such a perfect picture painted for the championship race. Dave, Dante, and Bernie, they were top 3, and honestly, it was fun to watch. And I didn't want to break that up. I wanted them. I seen that they were running a little bit harder anyway. I wanted to save a little bit of tire, and I knew, towards the end of the run, I'd be able to pass them pretty easily. So, no, tonight I was kind of letting them have their own race tonight.
Well, that was really, really respectful of you, Grant, and it made for a really great race while that was going on. So now that the season's over, and unfortunately you weren't in the championship hunt at this point, are you planning on coming back to run for the championship next season? I mean, is work going to allow you to do that?
Man, I really wish I could. The Tuesday night deal, it goes with the Cup guys in real life, so it's a lot longer season and it's a lot more difficult for me to make every race. So, I mean, with my work schedule, it's hit and miss. Like I never know what to expect, and sometimes I can make the races, sometimes I can't. But I plan on making every race I can here at RTG, throughout the week. So, I mean, I hope I can.
Well, Grant, a great way for you to end off the season there, though. A third-place run here tonight at Atlanta. So close to picking up your 3rd win of the season here in this series. But congratulations on a great run. We're now going to turn the mic over to you and let you do some shout-outs.
Yeah, first off, congratulations to Dante and Dave on their championships on this series. Like I said, it's a long season. It takes a lot of commitment out of those 2 guys, and they did a great job. And I'd like to thank the owners here at RTG, David Cannon, Terry Bauman, Sean Prime, the admins here, Dante and Mitch, my teammates at XFM, my girlfriend Brittany, and you guys for putting on the broadcast.
That's Grant Wesley. He brings the number 88 Chevrolet home P3 here tonight at Atlanta to cap off season 51 of the Winston Cup Series. Once again, congratulations on a great performance there, Grant, and a great season overall.
And also congratulations to Jeremy Jeffries on the win. Much deserved.
And I'll see you on Thursday, Grant.
Sounds good.
Let's see if we can now get our 2nd place finisher, Robert Balcom, who came close to picking up his 10th win of the season here in the Winston Cup Series. Robert, it's Justin Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network Studios. You got us?
Of course. How y'all doing?
Well, man, I mean, we saw Atlanta here tonight be slick, be a tire killer. We saw a lot of drivers struggle with different aspects of the racetrack, different aspects of the CTS physics. Pit road also played a part into this. What was the chief area that Atlanta caused some struggles for you?
Just tires is big on everybody, and then the air really played a big difference there. My main goal was just to let those 3 that was battling for the chase, let them settle it out at the first part of the run. I don't want to be the one to cause an issue with them, so I just let them get out there, and it was fun watching them race it out. That's a great job by Dave there. I hate to see Dante or Bernie have any bad luck there, but man, they put on a good show at the start there. It was fun watching it.
We were watching that 3-way battle for the win. It looked like after you got around Grant Wesley, you were able to draft up better to the back bumper of the 8 than Wesley was. You got close. What little more did you need to be able to be on the back bumper of Jeffries there on that final lap to be able to make a move?
5 more laps. Each run before that, I stayed back, and then I was able to get the lead. I just needed probably about 5 more laps. He was getting much tighter coming off the corners, so I was letting it roll in and kind of getting the car turned so I could get some air to the nose, and that way it wasn't as hard on me. But yeah, I think 5 more laps, we would have definitely gave him a run for his money.
Hey, Robert, I just have a quick question for you. We saw Jeremy run that higher line that whole time, and you were pretty much running the middle to bottom like 90% of this race. Did you ever think that maybe you might be able to psych Jeremy out and go up on that high side and make a run on that high line? I mean, or was that even an option for you at all? I mean, regardless of this whole race, like I said, we saw you in the middle to the bottom. You didn't really seem to like that high side at all.
Well, I actually run the high side in the first part of each run. But if I'd have got up in the high side with him, it would have just been more air on my front nose. So that really wasn't a thing to do. It's funny because me and Jeremy in happy hour, we ran the whole happy hour, and we literally ran probably 20 something laps side by side. It was fun as can be. So definitely showed you race side by side. But yeah, he was up in the high lane, and like I said, if I'd have moved up there, it would have just put more air in the nose and just made it tighter. It's amazing how that air plays a part on this game.
Well, Robert, we talked about coming into tonight's race, just what a tear you've been on here in this series. At one point, you had won 4 in a row. You came in tonight with 9 wins, so close to picking up that 10th win, but a great way for you to end off what's been a tremendous season for you, a runner-up finish here tonight in the season finale at Atlanta. We're now going to turn the mic over to you. Let's do some shout-outs.
All right. Well, I actually got 12 wins in this series. It's just showing 9 in the chase because me and Jeremy was saying who's gonna get the most wins. But yeah, first thing I want to do is give a big shout out to Dante. Being able to run this league and run every race like that for the championship is pretty amazing. There was no way I could do it or even make the chance of it. So congratulations, Dante. I also want to give a shout out to Dave Melson. He's really been, man, Dave has improved so much this year. He is so close to getting that win. I know he's just in the other room saying, hey, I won it without a win. But regardless, I mean, he's there every week, and that's what it takes. I mean, just he get one little thing happen, he's going to get his win. So I want to congratulate both of them. And also to Bernie for he had a great job being a competitor there, and he ran up front all night. Congratulations to Jeremy. Great race tonight. Jeremy's a great competitor. He really makes me step up my game. Same with Grant. Great job. I mean, both of them, they're unbelievable. My main thing I do is I want to give a shout out to my wife, Jennifer. Like I've been saying, this is probably gonna be my last week of racing for a little while because she goes in the hospital Friday to have a surgery. So, that's gonna be tough on us because she's truly my rock. Without her, I don't know where I'd be. And then I want to give a shout out to my little cheerleader in the background, Caitlin, my daughter. She's always on me, win, daddy, win, so I got to go in here and tell her I didn't win, but great job to her. And then, of course, RTG and Flatout Racing Network for all you do for us.
Well, we'll certainly be keeping your wife in our thoughts and prayers there, Robert, but congratulations on a second-place run here tonight. A great way to finish out the season for you, and we look forward to seeing, if you come back next season, what you're going to be able to bring to the table there.
We'll see. Like I said, my main goal is just getting her back to healthy. Like I said, you know how it is. You love when you can't do without them. So, but I really do want to give you a shout out to y'all. I love listening to your broadcasts. I know y'all know I listen to them. Y'all are talking to me during them. So, thank y'all for all you do for coming over here and showing what kind of talent RTG has.
We appreciate it. That's Robert Balcom. He brings it home runner-up here tonight in the season finale of the Winston Cup Series. And it's been established apparently, Jess, I can't count laps and I can't count wins. Yeah, Balcom and Jeffries came into this race with 12 wins apiece. They were trying to figure out who was going to be the tiebreaker, and it's going to be Jeremy Jeffries with his league-leading 13th win here tonight, and we have him down in victory lane, I do believe. Jeremy, it's Jess and Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network Studios. You got us?
I have you guys.
Well, man, I mean, boy, you had a dogfight on your hands there in the closing stages. You had Grant Wesley there with about 5 to go. You had Robert Balcom on your back bumper with 2 to go. What was the strategy there to hold them off if they made a move?
If they had got inside of me, I think it was their race. My strategy was to try to keep them in the dirty air and make sure they couldn't get that run to the inside.
Now, we saw you experience the dirty air as you were fighting your way up through the field, eventually getting to the front. How difficult was it to work your way through traffic with, as you said, the dirty air and the draft coming into play?
It was an interesting race because most of the race we weren't really racing each other hard. We were trying to be respectful to the guys in the chase, and we were just kind of swapping positions, seeing who could be the first guy that wasn't a chase guy, and that was a lot of fun. And then when it got serious and we, started passing, and I think I got behind Robert there before the pit stops, and that's when I got most of that dirty air. I couldn't do anything but ride behind him, and that's when I learned that that's what I needed to do.
We talked about coming into tonight's race, what a tear you've been on. 4 in a row coming into tonight. You extend it now to 5 wins in a row to close out the season. I mean, this kind of a momentum wave, does that carry over, do you think, into other leagues as well as possibly next season as well?
I'd like to think so. I mean, it definitely gives you a lot of confidence that you can go out here and beat these guys. These are some of the best racers that are out there. And, it's an accomplishment every time you get that win.
That's Jeremy Jeffries. He gets the checkered flag here tonight to end out season 51 of the Winston Cup Series. Jeremy, we're going to turn the microphone over to you and let's do some shout outs now.
All right. Let's shout out first and foremost to my competitors this season. I know they've gotten tired of me winning. I apologize, but I also don't. Especially to Robert. I know he's gotten tired of finishing second to me so many times, but he's the best, and it's always a clean racer. Grant, my XFM teammate there, gave me a good fight, and just congrats to Dante for the overall championship and Dave Melson for the chase championship. It's awesome to see that. And everybody else, the owners, Terry, Bones, Sean Prime, just make this place such a fun place to race. And thanks to Flatout Racing Network. Always, always, always the best broadcast. I can't wait again, like I say every time, to watch this back because it's always just a lot of fun to relive it and to see your car or truck or whatever we're racing that night out there getting some attention thrown upon them. And just thanks to my family, and that's it.
Be honest, Jeremy. You only want to go back into the broadcast so you can say that's the one I won over you, Robert, right? Just throw it in his face like years later.
I wouldn't do that, but I was trying to catch him in the wins tally there. He got a little bit of a head start on me, and I had to come back and finish strong.
Well, you certainly did. Jeremy Jeffries caps off the season here tonight with his series-leading 13th win of the season. Congratulations on the victory there, Jeremy. Congratulations on closing out the season on quite a hot streak of 5 in a row. Go enjoy your victory.
Thank you.
Let's see now if we can get Dave Melson, who's going to be the winner here of the Chase segment, the champion of the Chase segment of the Winston Cup Series. Dave, it's Justin Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network Studios. You got us?
I do.
Well, I know that obviously here tonight you would have loved to have been able to have a twofold race, get your first win of the season and win the Chase championship, but 5th place here tonight to lock that championship up. And, the first time that we saw drivers come to pit road for green flag pit stops, it really looked like that was the difference maker.
Yeah, it definitely was the difference because Bernie and I kind of pretty much came in together, and I knew at that point that it was whoever got off pit road the best was probably going to be the lucky one.
We saw you start on the outside of the front row, Bernie get the pole position. So at that point, rolling off the grid behind the pace car, in the back of your mind, were you thinking, this is where the dogfight's going to be. This is where we're going to be trying to figure out who's going to lead the most laps, get that extra bonus point. This might be the championship battle right here. Or were you wondering about that 84 of Dante Ricky, who was slowly working his way through the field?
Well, it was definitely going to be a matter of who did what and who made the least amount of mistakes that's all I kept thinking.
Well, Dave, I want to bring up something here. At the very beginning of this race, we saw you go straight out and try to hold on to the lead. We saw Bernie get around you and get a lap lead. And at that point, you pushed, it looked like you were pushing it pretty hard to get back around him to stay back in front of him. Now, when he got that bonus point lead, what was in your mind? Staying in front of him or leading to get the most laps led at that point? Like, what was going on in your mind at that point when you saw him get that bonus point again for himself to lead a lap?
Yeah, I don't think the bonus points really mattered tonight as far as the chase was concerned. So that didn't really bother me. It was just a matter of trying to save my tires as much as I could. I did definitely want to be up front. I liked it up front because the car stuck better in the corners. You didn't behind somebody, you pushed a little bit, so it was just an easier drive up front. So that's why I tried to get back out front. I slipped a bit. That's why I lost the lead there early. But
Well, how aggressive were you this whole race? I mean, we've seen you the past few weeks be up in the top five, work your way from the 10th up to the top five, get close each time. And it just seems like you would slowly just work your way normal, consistent, moderate, and then you get really aggressive toward the middle to the end there to get up near the front. This race, it looked like you were aggressive from start to end, trying to hang on up there the whole time. Like, I mean, did you was that your mentality going into this race?
to a point, like I said, it was just trying to minimize on any mistakes. I made the one mistake where I was following Bernie into the into one, and I bumped his bumper, and I went up high, and I just did everything I could to save it from brushing the wall, which I did, thankfully. But I lost a bunch of positions. But after we had some uh, pit stops there for a caution, restarting in ninth, that was probably about the only time I was aggressive to get back up front.
Well, at the end of the night, Dave Melson gets to do burnouts on the front straightaway here at Atlanta. He is your Winston Cup Series Chase champion. Congratulations there, Dave. We're now going to turn the microphone over and let you use some shout-outs.
All right, well, I definitely got to thank RTG for sure. If it wasn't for those guys, none of us would be here having a blast and having the chance to get some, I don't know, some recognition. Um, got to thank you guys. Got to thank all the admins for everything they do because they spend countless hours dealing with this stuff. Um, so that's pretty much it. Yeah, just got to thank all these guys. They're all great.
Well, Dave Melson finishes out the season with a 5th place run, his 16th top 5 finish of the year, finishes 3rd overall in the standings, and is your Winston Cup Series Chase champion. Congratulations on a job well done there, Dave, and go enjoy your championship.
Thank you. I will.
And we talked with this guy a couple of weeks ago when he won the championship in the overall series after a great run at Rockingham, but it now is official. After the checkered flag flies, Dante Ricky is the season 51 Winston Cup Series champion. Let's see if we can get a word with him here. Dante, Justin, Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us?
I got you, Seth.
Well, man, I know that this is not the way you wanted to end off the season, finishing out of the race in the 25th position, but we know you were in the running for that championship for the chase segment as well, but it's got to kind of be bittersweet because you didn't win that championship, but you've got that overall championship for 36 races.
Yeah, this season was an amazing experience going all the way back to being the segment one winner at Dover in May and having a difficult time in the summer, but still able to maintain a lot of top 5 and top 10 finishes. And, tonight it was amazing to have that opportunity to race with both Dave Melson and Bernie Mobbs for that Chase championship. And big time congratulations to Mr. Melson for his championship in the Chase segment tonight. He deserved it. He raced up front, gave it 100% effort. Bernie gave it 100% effort. And, it was an amazing race. I'm sure it was a really good show on TV for those opening and closing laps of the race when it came down to it for the end. It is a big accomplishment to be able to win the overall championship for me, and it's a big accomplishment for Dave to be able to pull off the Chase segment championship as well. And that just is a true testament to how good our drivers are here at RTG. And just the fact that everyone is clean and comes out here to do the best they can and win the race, it's an amazing experience for everyone.
When we have the opportunity to be able to observe drivers, depending on what series it is, we constantly watch them over and over. We get a bit of a sense of what their racing style is like. Just when we were talking with Dave Melson just moments ago, was talking about how it looked like tonight was maybe the most aggressive we've seen him run from start to finish. We know that you're one of those drivers that likes to let the track come to you, likes to conserve the tires and slowly make your way up through the field. But here tonight, as far as the chase was concerned, your two competitors were starting in the front row. You were back there in 12th. It kind of looked like we saw you race a little bit out of your comfort zone. Very aggressive trying to get up there to the front early on.
Absolutely. I think that the sense of urgency was really there for me, and I definitely was more aggressive than usual, having my competitors and competition in front of me for the majority of the race, if not all of the race. It was certainly something that I had to push the car harder and push the limits even more than I normally would, considering that I never really had the technique dialed in tonight. It was one of the tightest race setups that I ever drove, and it is possible that I could have done a few things different here or there to be more competitive tonight. But I just found myself on the wrong side of strategy in the wrong positions at the wrong times. And, this is a race that I want to forget, but certainly it will not make me forget about this 2020 Winston Cup season. And we really look forward to being back with this again in 2021 and going for the championship again next year.
Well, Dante, I mean, as we mentioned, it's a tremendous feat to be consistent in 36 races, to be able to win a championship like that. 36 starts, an average finish of no further down than in the top five, fifth place. I mean, that is a tremendous job by you to be able to wrap this overall championship up. We already congratulated you on the championship back at Rockingham, but it, is now official. So big time congrats on that. And we're going to turn the mic over to you now. Let's do some shout outs.
I have multiple shout outs I'd like to give for tonight. And we'll start off with some of the drivers in this league. Thank you to all drivers at RTG for making this such a successful 2020 Winston Cup season, especially to Dave Melson for being the chase champion and being such a clean, amazing racer each week in and out, and Bernie Bobs for making it to the final. And it's a big accomplishment even to make it into the final three. And I'm glad we were able to talk with him tonight. On this season, Jeremy Jeffries and Robert Bokum combined won a total of 25 of our 36 races. Big thank you to them for coming out each night and making it so competitive, even if they weren't able to make it every night of the season. Also, we couldn't have possibly done this without Mitch and Terry Bombard, my fellow admins and co-directors. Big thank you to them for helping run this league and making it so special of an experience for the drivers here. And really, without them, I don't know how I would be able to pull this off. They are amazing co-directors and amazing admins every night that I work with them. Also, of course, major thank you to our RTG owners and admins of all series: David Cannon, Terry Bauman, Sean Prime, RTG owners who run a lot behind the scenes and are always busy. And, it's just an amazing place here at RTG. Thank you so much, guys.
Well, not a problem. Congratulations once again there, Dante, on winning the championship here in season 51 of the Winston Cup Series. You'll be heading into season 52 as the defending champion. So, enjoy the championship for now and get back to work when the new season begins.
All right. Thank you, Seth. Thank you, Jessica.
And I just want to quickly run through here too. I know that we've kind of been harping on it, but it really, you have to go through the statistics to really appreciate the work that Dante Ricky put in to be able to win this championship. 36 races during the course of this year, 3 trips to victory lane, 28 top fives, 30 top tens. That's 6 races that he didn't finish in the top 10 all season long, folks. That is incredible. And as I said, in all 36 races, an average finishing position of 5.31. We talked about consistency, Jess, and in this type of a format with the 36 race schedule based off the Winston Cup Series points, that's what you need to be able to win the championship.
Absolutely, and we remember we just heard a moment ago from Dave Melton, no wins, not one single win, and look where he finished out in the season in the segment. I mean, if you got consistency, that's all you really need. I mean, unfortunately, Dante didn't get the chase segment tonight, but the point is the big picture. That was the big picture for Dante to wrap it up. I believe it was last week, and he wrapped it, whether it was last week or week before last, he wrapped it up. He secured it. He was fine. He was happy. And, coming into every single race, he didn't qualify on the pole. He didn't qualify second. He sat there in the middle of the pack and let the race come to him. We talk about it all the time. I mean, Seth, we sit there and talk about Robert Balcom, for example. Oh, he's in the middle of the pack. But what happens at the end? He's there at the end. He wins the race or he finishes in the top 5. That's exactly what Dante's been doing all season, letting the race come to him, not worrying about where everyone else is, just focusing on what he's got to do, hit his own marks, and just race the track itself and just be aware of cautions and everyone else that's around him. But you gotta stay focused the whole race to make it to where Dante is, and Dante did it extremely well, superb, great season for that 84 team.
Yeah, I mean, Dante Ricci, we mentioned he has an average finishing position of 5.31. That's in all 36 starts. He is third only to Robert Balcom and Jeremy Jeffries, who didn't make every single race. To your point, the average starting position, he's not even in the top 10 in that statistic. So mid-pack to the front of the field, consistent finishes. That's how Dante Ricci was able to get it done. And another thing that we keep talking about, but it is so important as well, these drivers all season long, this season, we had the overall champion. We had it split, the regular season split into 2 segments. So you had 2 regular season champions in that split up. You also had this chase format. It constantly gives drivers a reason to show up, a reason to race, and a reason to try and find victory lane.
Absolutely. And going back to the segment 1 and segment 2, who was up at the front? I mean, I don't think he won. I'm not sure if he won segment 2 or not, but who was up at the front and in the top 3 of those 2 segments? Dante Ricci. Who was up at the overall? Dante Ricci. Who was there at the end for this chase? Dante Ricci.
Absolutely. I think if I recall correctly, I think Dante Ricci was the first half of the season winner, and he finished second in the second half of the regular season. So, yeah, the consistency just continued to be there for that 84 team. But 36 races, and the season finally draws to a close, ending out the year. Dante Ricci, the champion. Wow, long road there for that 84 team, but they finally got it done, and now has to set his sights, as I said, on season 52. A lot of people going to be gunning for him because he's heading in as the defending champ.
Absolutely, and a lot of people are going to take the time to rethink their strategies. And, we got other leagues over here that run as well, and Dante is part of those. And we've seen him be really competitive, battle for championships, and go for the top as well. So these drivers have more time to get their ducks in a row and get ready for next season when that comes about.
Well, Atlanta Motor Speedway certainly played its part as the season finale here for the Winston Cup Series. It's going to be Dave Melson, the chase champion here for the chase segment, and your overall champion now officially is Dante Ricci. A long season, and the road has finally reached its end. Jess, I appreciate you joining me here tonight for a wild one at this deep-shaped 1.5 miles.
Absolutely. Atlanta is one of those fun tracks. It's not a super speedway. It's not a short track, but it can drive and feel like the same way both sides, in and out. And especially when we got realistic damage, it's always a little bit funner because got a lot more that they have to overcome. But, I mean, we saw tonight's broadcast. We're not through yet. We've got a couple more broadcasts coming up for RTG. We got the Talladega Challenge on Thursday night, and that playoff chase is about to start on Thursday as well. And if I'm not mistaken, we'll be back in a few weeks to do our isn't it the Aero 88 series stuff that we're going to be doing?
I believe it is the Aero 88 series. Their season is actually drawing to a close. It might be their season finale, but I'm not 100% sure. But once again, congratulations to Jeremy Jeffries on the win here tonight, to Dave Melson on winning the Chase Championship, and Dante Ricci on winning the overall championship. Thank you to everybody that tuned in tonight. We hope you enjoyed our coverage. For Jessica Shelton, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for tuning in to the season finale of season 51 of the Winston Cup Series, as you've been watching another broadcast tonight, courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.